So welcome to the Swing'it With Winget podcast. This is a little different kind of podcast, by the way, because I've got Josh Lindsey with us today. Come swing it with Winget. Are you kidding me? This guy all swagged out?
Bro, let's be honest. I borrowed this swag.
Well, you're just making sure it's as nice as you were hoping it was. Ooh, all right?
The silk lining?
Jeez, it's like,
so good.
Look out.
Look out. Both of us are wearing what kind of shades?
Well, I mean, mine are Gucci. What are yours?
Gucci, bro.
Oh, wow.
The finest. Wow. They're my favorite.
The Aviator,
They're my favorite. The Aviator mark. I don't think anyone does it better.
So the thing about us that's so unique, and, you know, our friend Chad, he said that, you know, we'd hit it off
Shout
pretty good.
Shout out to Chad. Chad, my boy. He's one of my favorite people.
He's down there sweating it out.
Cash and Co.
In St. George, like 110 degrees. Oh, my gosh.
Good man, though.
Great man.
Great man.
But here's something I learned about Josh and I, is that both of us have been in the game, our respective fields, for quite some time, right?
It's been a minute.
15, 20 years, 20-something years. I'm trying to lose track, right? But we've made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. I don't know if, you made some bad investments over the years, but we try and win more than we lose, or else we probably wouldn't be here, right? But here's the deal. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This guy and I have a lot in common. Now, we like nice stuff.
Are you saying we're sexy beasts?
Well, I mean, we both got the same color of hair, just a different shade.
Yeah, I know.
Yours is probably more natural than mine.
Orange, the sun kisses me during the summer a little bit,
that
man.
Pool.
A little bit.
I mean, it's what do you do? The St. George house at the pool, Lake Powell, Bear Lake, the mansion up there.
Put it in.
Jeez.
Put in time with the family, Brad.
Well, not just the family. I noticed there was 4 other families that got the invite. But maybe next year, some of us others can climb onto that list, huh?
Potential.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Put you on the short list.
Maybe the $5,000-$6,000 fireworks show. I heard that was amazing.
It was epic. I'm not going to hold back and say it wasn't, because it was amazing.
I heard last night as I went to dinner with our mutual friend, old Mike Conti. Finally got together with him.
He's a good man.
Amazing wife.
Great guy.
He was ramping and raving about his experience watching your fireworks down in Lake Powell.
It's a combination of a couple things. One, I'm a cold-blooded American, let's be honest. I like to celebrate some freedom with some explosions.
Right.
But 2...
I'm going to come back to that when it comes to our car selection.
Sounds good. But 2, when when you light off fireworks in Lake Powell, it's already a special place. But then when it hits over the lake like that...
Right.
You get a little Bruce Springsteen in the background,
And it echoes off the canyons.
In the USA.
That's what I'm talking
Shit's
about.
Popping. Dude, it's good, man. Like, it makes you feel alive.
Wow.
So you're welcome, Conti. If you're listening, you're welcome.
Yeah, he better be listening.
You're
Come
welcome.
on. Well, I'll tell you what. He made it sound like there was almost some trouble. Like maybe there was a grumpy old guy that didn't like. He might have been a fisherman like me at times.
I'm going to put that one on Conti, because I did not talk to this guy. But yes,
you were sleeping like a beast.
The police were called. I take afternoon naps when we're in Powell.
Yeah,
I'm not
hibernating.
No. Sometimes I need to get away from the children and the chaos.
Okay,
right. But more so. It's a feverish pace, We get up, we surf early in the morning, and then they want to surf late into the night. And I'm kind of a regimen guy, so it's not uncommon for Josh to disappear around 1, post lunch, post sandwich. Well, maybe to take a little tiger snooze.
We'll maybe circle back to some other times I've been around you that sometimes the phantom just somehow disappears, okay?
Okay.
We got some similar traits in that regard.
Fair enough.
Well, the reason I bring that up is I said, Conti, like, holy cow, like, you realize you were a facilitator in these, because he was with you in your entourage of vehicles to go get the fireworks. And he might have pulled them down. I'm like, Conti, good job. You had the best fireworks show ever. I've done the same thing or participated, not quite to that extent, but a nice one.
It's fun.
And there's nothing better.
It is fun.
You got to live hard.
Look, man, we're not promised tomorrow, and I'm in all seriousness, even though we're kind of joking around here, but you're not promised tomorrow, and so you just have to walk that fine line of like being responsible, obviously saving money, investing for the future, but you really got to live for today, man. Like, we're of the age where we probably have friends that have died, people get sick with cancer, just things happen, and so it's like, I subscribe to, live your best life, because we're just not promised tomorrow.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we'll get into some of the business stuff because, Josh is one of, the local heroes in the broker business of helping people sell their businesses, right? He's very accomplished, and we'll talk more about some of those things. And there's a lot of great content there. But we like nice stuff, okay? I mean, this is not just a show. Like the glasses, the biggest, nicest, Breitling.
You're feeling it.
I've never met anyone else that I have more in common in some of these things. Like, I love Breitlings. I don't have a Rolex.
So do I.
You probably have a Rolex.
Yeah, but we're big guys.
We are big guys.
You know what I mean?
And you remind me, that was the biggest Breitling that they make.
Big watches. Rolexes are a little dainty for my wrists. If I'm just being honest.
I'd agree.
And since you're a bigger guy than me, I mean,
we like it a little bit bigger.
Don't be dainty.
Yeah.
Go with the bees.
Go with the bees.
Go with the bees, bro.
Well, and the other thing is, Josh and I share another passion. Like, I don't know, you've owned your Bentley for how many years?
Well, I've had one. I got my first one. I got in like 2009, 2008.
Okay. Yeah, and I got mine like in 2015 or 16, and it was an 08.
Yeah.
And I upgraded recently to a 2012.
Yeah.
Got the black and red, like really kind of something a little pops, but it's
nice.
People, they have a difference of opinion, especially where we kind of live. It's a little bit more conservative.
Agreed.
LDS community and just conservative people in general, which is a really good thing because a lot of our state is so well managed as far as economically, and our economy and all these different things have really been a blessing for all of us, right? But some of us, are kind of like, hey, you know what? We need to conserve. Buying a Ferrari, buying a Bentley, buying like all these nice things. I just got a brand new Corvette. And
sweet.
You know what?
Sweet.
I did 3 months of hellacious work on what I would say a hoarder house.
Yeah.
And literally nonstop, 3 months, because I was going to make sure that when I sold that house, I got to write a check for my Corvette.
Oh, I love it.
And that's kind of cool. I wouldn't recommend going and getting loans on cars like this and extending yourself and doing some of that. But
you know what I'm most excited about?
What's that?
To see that Corvette at the Cracker Barrel.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm thinking that maybe I'm just going to go for some sushi.
Golden Corral. Sushi. Nice.
I saw a post about a business that might be in the mix for a little,
Yeah, I got a sushi business for sale.
Wow.
We're pretty sure we got an offer on it, though.
Oh, of course.
It moves, man.
Yeah. Well, when you're involved, it's like a real estate deal, If somebody hires me to represent their interest in real estate, it's going to move.
It's a nice deal, though. That's why.
Yeah.
$300K in cash flow. They want to sell for about $1 million. They got a 7-year lease at rates that are just ridiculous. There's just too much good about it. Good deals move quick.
Well, they do, and I think part of
shades coming off.
Well, you don't need to take the shades, dude. I told you to come shirtless if you wanted to.
Intimate.
I mean, the baby blues are out.
Right,
Look out.
Let's go.
So the thing about it is, and I'll finalize this, is that we like nice stuff, and I like that about us, And there was a time where, I was worried about what my neighbors might think. I was worried about what my parents or family may think, or my employees, what they would, and you know what? They all still at times think those things.
Sure.
When the Viper used to roar that V12 and wake everybody up, I mean, that's not ideal. It's probably like your Ferrari V12, right? But ultimately, guess what? We like nice things, and we work our butts off.
Sure.
To not only provide for our families, but the future as well. It's not like we're overextending ourselves on some of these things. We just like them. What do you like about fancy cars?
So I'll give you two pieces of insight on what you just said. The first one is, I think the common misconception is, someone going out and buying a Bentley is just like wasting a considerable amount of money.
Well, and just trying to show.
Well, we'll talk about the show in a second, but I mean, I bought my Bentley for $100,000, which is far less than a Tesla Plaid.
Right.
So like somebody sees
or a big truck.
Somebody sees a Bentley and goes, "Oh my gosh, that guy spent a crazy amount of money." Like, no, I bought my Bentley. It was 5 years old.
Right.
It only had like 12,000 miles on it. That's just the car that I happen to like best. But the same amount of money could easily be spent on like a new F-350. It's just perception is
a Raptor.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, like what's this guy buying? But that's the first thing is I'm not out there, paying retail for these things. Like I'll buy one that's 5 years old that's got 12,000 miles on it because it's like new.
There's not a safer sedan. There's not a quieter, more powerful. There's not a smoother car. There's not a bigger car inside. And the speed and the performance, I mean, they're unmatched. And at least for me, that's my car. I love it.
Yeah, it's my favorite car.
How many people do you know that are on their second Bentley that are in our age group that have a passion for Bentleys like we do?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Dude, Bentleys are a rare breed anyways. Like, not many people have them. My mechanics had a bunch of them.
Are you seeing like why we're here together? Like, we've got some things in common, you know? So I think it's kind of cool. But ultimately, you know, they're just material things, right?
No, I totally agree. And I was going to reference one of the things that when we built our house like 5 years ago, I kind of strategically moved into a neighborhood where I know I would be like a very small fish.
Yeah.
And so when I'm pulling out in a
Lane,
Bentley,
Holiday.
when I'm pulling out in a Bentley or for whatever it is, like genuinely, I mean this, no one really cares.
Right.
Because there are my, 3 doors down guys are worth like $500, $800 million. So it's like, it's just not that big of a deal to them.
Right.
So I wanted to be in a place where if someone saw a car like that, they would stop and be like, oh, cool. Like I had one of those, or I'm really into Porsche, or, oh, come over. I want to show you my collection. Like that's the craziest part about it is it'll open up doors. Like I had this old guy who used to own the Cottonwood Mall who lives in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Never met him. He's like in his 80s. He's like, hey, why don't you come over and see my car collection? Because he saw me driving some cars. I go over there, listen to this story. The guy has the first model BMW ever built.
Wow.
He got it while he was on his mission. It was in a haystack. They used to hide cars in haystacks during World War II so that the Germans wouldn't blow them up.
Yeah.
The people over there said, like, look, if you can dig it out of the haystack, you can have it. Guy digs it out, took him like 2 weeks, fully restores it, drove it around while he was over there going to school or something, brought it back. BMW North America has offered him upwards of $30 million.
That's insane.
For this car.
Yeah.
It's in his garage in my neighborhood.
How cool is that?
Super cool.
Yeah, you can actually make money on these types of things.
Well,
and some people like it. It's a hobby.
The rarest of the rare. But the point that I'm getting at is, look, if you're getting sweated for driving like a Bentley in your neighborhood, maybe it's time to change the neighborhood.
Right. No, you absolutely right.
No one cares around me.
Yeah, and nobody should care. They should celebrate our successes. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not the case. And as the more money we made or the more success we've had, you find out a lot about different people. And oftentimes we've seen people that have a lot of money and make it quick or make it over time, they start to withdraw from things that they used to do, and some of the people, because there's a mindset and there's a lifestyle that just changes. And there's such a difference of the two. The challenge is the people that are jealous or want to see people fail, and they celebrate failures of others because maybe they're not where they thought they'd be or where they want to be. I'm not saying that. I mean, there's a portion of people that are like that. Certainly not all of them, but it's such a beautiful thing when you figure out the mental transformation, of learning to celebrate other people's success genuinely.
100%.
And what does it do to your own life?
Brings more success in.
I get the goosebumps, and I try to acknowledge that every time, because what it does is it cuts all the negative, bad luggage that you've been carrying around, or that you were taught from a young age. And you end up like wanting to surround yourself with successful people. And what do we know about one of the first things that we all tell, or that we know ourselves about becoming successful? You surround yourself with the kind of people that you want to be more like.
Yeah.
Mentors, tutelage, all the different things. So, that's something that, I recommend our listeners. And Josh also has a podcast, by the way. It's called the American
Business Broker
Podcast. Yeah. And by the way, I like the logo.
You feeling it? It's like a cartoon.
I'm actually thinking about redoing mine. No, I'm not kidding, dude. The Trump red tie. I mean, come on, that's bad.
Hold on, before we move on, we got to address something.
Oh boy, here we go.
Nothing weird.
Yeah.
Just relax. So we were recently told that a leader is not showy, but we got to talk about this.
It's a great point. It's one of the reasons I bring it up.
It's what we're talking about. Okay, so I digested that comment. You and I talked a little bit about it, and here's what I want to share about that is, I think that anybody who's out there putting things out there, like on Instagram or even just like driving around the neighborhood trying to show off and draw attention, I think that is counterproductive to what a leader is. Yeah. However, I will say that living an authentic life to who you really are, that is being a leader. And what I mean by that is, I've always wrestled with the dilemma of, should I drive a Camry? Should I wear Dockers? Should I shop at Land's End? Should I just blend in with the people around me so that I can be more accepted? Problem with that is I felt like I was going to be killing me.
Yeah.
Like who I really am and what my aspirations and desires are. Like I've been thinking about having some of these things for 20, 25 years.
Since we were young.
And so am I supposed to bury those dreams so that I can be accepted more by the people around me? Or should I live more of an authentic life of who I really am? I don't buy these cars for attention or to gain accolades or to gain followers. I buy them because they've been on my goal list for so long. You know what I mean? This is just something that I've wanted to do, and this is what keeps me going down the path. So I wanted to talk about that because it's fresh on the mind. And so I think if your intentions are to show off, then it's kind of counterproductive to leadership. But if you're living in integrity with who you are and what you really want in life,
you're a good person. You're trying to help people. You're always there.
Live in integrity to who you are.
Yeah.
Like, look, if you never had a goal to buy a car, buy a Bentley, for example, since we're talking about those, then don't buy one just so that you can say you have a Bentley and then all of a sudden you're like driving around feeling like you're cool. But if you had a poster of that car on your wall 20 years ago and it's always been a goal to have one in your garage, why is that not authentic?
Right.
Because the goal and the dream started 20 years ago when you were a young boy and you had no idea how you were going to do it. And now that you have the means to do it, you should fulfill that dream. And what happens is then you create new dreams, right? It's like now the Bentley just doesn't mean that much. Maybe you sell it and you slowly progress onto new things.
Right.
And as you know, you get to our age and what you value is not the stuff.
Right.
It's the people in your life and the relationships that matter. But it's almost like you have to check that box of the stuff off first to really value the people and the relationships later. So anyways, just a tangent.
Well, no,
just
I think,
thought.
and to your point again, like, there can be some additional benefits that might not be the reason we buy cars like this, right? In fact, I just like fast, comfy, safe cars.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just something I've always been passionate about. But strangely enough, the byproduct can be, holy cow, I never would have had this conversation with this guy, and all of a sudden we're doing business together over here.
Agreed.
It's like what? There's a car show coming up, and there's all these. There's this car ride that we're going to go with a bunch of like-minded people. We're going to have a blast.
It does open doors. I totally agree with that.
So
it can.
I've been thinking about like wrapping my new black C8 Corvette
in
gold.
Like gold plated?
Yeah, kind of not the shade of the Gucci jacket, but I'm talking like I posted while I was in London. I saw a gold Ferrari. And I'm like, holy cow, what do you think about that? Would that be a little bit too much?
It's up to you, man. It's up to you to decide on what's too much, man.
Wouldn't that be something, though?
I mean, you'd be like a big gold tooth rolling down
Wouldn't
the road.
Wouldn't that be something? Well, I was in the studio working on some artistry.
I saw that, man.
So,
I saw that.
I mean,
do you have a grill?
Yeah, I'm thinking about, maybe getting something,
some Paul Wall,
yeah, like something like that. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I'll tell you what. One of the couple of things. Josh and I met through a men's group that's been pretty awesome. Like I have nothing but amazing things to say about it. And it's called We're the They. It was started years ago by Jimmy Rex, but rolled out recently, like, what was it, 7 months ago?
Yeah.
We met in Moab with a group of 50 guys.
December?
Yeah, and it was an eye-opening experience. And a bunch of guys found themselves, like, literally, I didn't know anybody but Jimmy.
Yeah, I knew one person.
Yeah, and it was uncomfortable. And
was it?
For me, it was.
You?
I was very uncomfortable.
Everybody loves you.
Well, look, where everyone was meeting everyone, I was upstairs by myself.
What?
Okay? Like
you were
when Jimmy was doing the whole.
You were hiding out?
I was hiding out. Like I'm not a big group setting guy.
I guess it's easy to hide out when there's like 50 guys.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit intimidating.
So why did you join?
Well, I joined because I love Jimmy. I was a part of his journey. I was his first real estate broker.
I was going to say, I heard you were his first broker.
And I know his whole family. I played ball at BYU with his older brother.
Okay.
And I've gotten to know them all. I used to do all their mortgages and real estate.
Okay.
And so, Jimmy kind of, took that pipeline, which, makes a lot of sense.
Got it.
They do a lot of business and it's been a good thing.
Him.
But we started the real estate business together, and we even partnered on the meat business and got to know him, as good as anyone. And he's just a great guy. So
what made you join though?
Well, he called me and says, I want you to be a part of it.
You got recruited.
And it was last minute, sense urgency.
You were
A great
recruited.
sales tactic.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and for some reason, I did something I normally would never do.
Because you bought in.
I just said, okay.
Really? Not knowing?
Just like that. I didn't know anything about it.
Weren't looking for
I just knew it was Jimmy. There's always changes that, we like. And I was actually at a point where I was kind of coasting a little bit. And I had been for a while. And, there's some things that I felt like there was more of me ready to just come out. And, I'm kind of in the midlife. You're like 40, right?
Thank you for identifying that.
Was it 39 or 40? Because there
40.
must have been a big party.
40. I'm 40. Yeah, there was a big party in November. Yeah.
I can't imagine after your fireworks show. And,
we went to Mexico. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm 45, and actually I'm 46. Oof. So I got you by 6 years.
Oof.
But guess what? It gets better.
It does?
There's this midlife thing.
Good to know.
That, you got to be full aware of.
Okay.
Like, it creeps up on you, and then you're doing things that you probably wouldn't normally do or think. Okay.
What does that mean?
Just in general. midlife crisis, I think.
Like peeing standing down or sitting down?
No, who knows? It's different for everybody, right?
All right.
You just might get up earlier and start reading books, or, you might just, be a little bit more stagnant and not do, a lot of the things that got you where you're at, or you just get complacent and just kind of not bored with life, but just burn out a little bit.
It makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you got to find ways to flare it up. And I think that subconsciously, that's probably one of the reasons I joined. And the reason I think we spent a little time on it is because, that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say you've got a split personality, because you're as authentic as anyone I've seen. But sometimes your outfits.
You see different versions?
Your outfits. Like the first night, and then all of a sudden I saw like a white jumpsuit with a white bandana.
It was not a white jumpsuit.
Always got the shades on. It was like a Sean Paul, let's go.
I didn't wear a white jumpsuit.
Well, what was it? It was.
Everyone keeps teasing me about this. I was wearing a nautical coat. It just happened to have like a high pop collar.
Oh, a long one, right?
It's fresh.
And was there a bandana?
So that was the next day. We were going on a hike. I needed to keep the sweat off my brow. What's up? Their bandana's out of style.
And then we went to the Bahamas on another group outing, that I'm seeing you right next to me, and you get the hat, low riding, and the shades on. It's like,
absolutely,
you've kind of become a big deal. You kind of have to.
A big deal?
Well, I think so.
I'm a big deal?
Well, it's like, who's this celebrity? Hiding from all of us guys in first class. Come on.
You want to hear my reason why I wear shades and a hat on the plane?
Well, I would. Yeah, I think we all would.
This is a bad reason, and Jimmy will probably give me crap about it.
There's a few other guys that are listening too.
Are they? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. I just know Jimmy. You'll be like, you really got to change that. You should really open yourself up to more people. So when pre-COVID, I had to do a bunch of business travel. And so I'd go out on these meetings, and I'd fly to Texas and have a 4-hour meeting with attorneys, and it's just bang, 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 and it's just intense, right? And I'd be exhausted by the time I'd be coming home. So what happens is somebody always wants to talk to you on a plane. We look like approachable people. Somebody just is like, hey, so what do you do? They always want to talk about what do I do or something, right?
You must be more approachable than me.
Maybe, but just the point is someone likes to chat it up on planes. And so I was like, oh man, I'm just so tired. I don't want to do this anymore. So what I learned is if you wear sunglasses on the plane, everyone's like, who's this a-hole?
He does not want to be bothered.
No one will talk to you if you wear shades on a plane.
Wow.
Everyone just will be like, wow, what's wrong with this guy? Maybe he's hungover. Maybe he's a celebrity. Maybe he's just a tool.
Yeah.
Either way, it's automatic privacy.
The crazy there is,
privacy.
For some like me, it makes me want to talk to you more.
No, and you didn't. Now it's silly.
I'm not kidding. That's just me, though. Now I'm wanting to know what's going on.
Now it's just a habit. I should probably break the habit. Jimmy, if you're listening, I apologize. Will do my best to be more approachable. But it's just honestly, it's why I do it. 'Cause on the plane, I usually just kind of want to decompress.
But you're as likable as anyone
I appreciate it,
but
I do wear the shades on the plane. Yeah. Even my wife teases me about it.
Well, it's fun. The bottom line is, we all have these things that are kind of unique about us.
Sure.
And special sauce, if you will.
Special sauce.
And, a little bit of swag. I love a little bit of swag, a little bit of an edge, And so I want to talk maybe you share a little bit more of your background.
I want to talk edge.
I want to talk, like, you went to Olympus High School.
Yeah.
You're a Utah native, right?
Yeah.
And you were kind of a big deal. Like, I mean, you can't see the guns right here with the gooch all flaring. But this guy, this is the first time I think I've actually even seen you with sleeves on.
I know. I like to cut the sleeves off, though.
Well, I mean, you got a pretty good workout regimen, right?
I like the curls.
So you played like running back, or
yeah, dude, that's like another life, man.
Well, it's not really. It's not really.
Forever ago.
You know,
I miss playing sports. We'll just leave it at that.
But like me, you're paying it forward now.
I miss playing. Yeah,
your
coach.
Kids play.
I love it, man.
You love to coach.
It's my favorite thing.
The reason I wanted to talk about it briefly is because yet another thing we have in common. Like we played at a high level in high school or college or whatever. Loved the game.
Yeah.
Excelled at it.
Yeah.
Part of the reasons we excelled and have in business, I think, stem all the way back from
100%.
when we were young,
100%.
and the lessons we were taught and
100%.
learned, and the discipline, the work ethic.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to peel back the onion a little bit and say, hey, you know what? We had a mindset. You know, sometimes it's hard to shut off.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know who your influential people were, in like the most influential that helped you decide what kind of a business or career to get into.
So the evolution of like how I got into my career is truly an evolution. There's really no one person that kind of led me into that. But just to echo your sentiments, you know, with where we lived, and pretty much most kids nowadays, they really want for nothing. When you compare to like other kids, you know, in the world or even just other places in the United States, they're very blessed. They have so much. And so I'm just a huge advocate of sports. But they need to be tough sports. You know, badminton probably doesn't qualify for me.
Although fun,
anything that's competitive where they're going to face adversity, they're going to have to work hard in order to compete. They're going to have to show up and practice.
Preferably a part of a team.
Yeah, preferably a part. But even wrestling, you know, I know that's a single sport, but like it's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, to wrestle is so hard, man.
For sure.
Just anything that's going to challenge a child, I just think is a really great place to prepare them for life. Because as we know, it's going to get difficult out there. And so teaching them young how to set goals and face adversity, and, you know, there's nothing like that first time that Polynesian just rocks your world. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they're just built different, man.
Ray Fetal just crushes you, and you're like, holy crap. But you have to get up and do it again. There's just some good stuff learned by that. So sports played a huge role, I think, in just helping develop what was already there. So that when, you know, I got back from my mission and it was time to transition into like the real world, the foundation of work and application of goals was already laid. I just had to learn how to transition it into
So
work.
you went to France, right?
Went to France,
served
south
2
of
years?
France. Yeah. Beautiful place. It's awesome.
I'll say.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and you probably learned a lot of different skills and different things that maybe helped you in your career there too.
I was going to come back and play football, and I actually tore my knee on my mission. I had a.
Don't tell me you were playing ward ball or something.
I was there during 9/11.
Oh wow!
And so when the towers and stuff like went down, the south of France, most people don't know this, is really, really like loaded with Arabic people because it's just across the Med from Morocco.
Right.
And so it's heavily. And so they are a lot of anti-American stuff. We were playing soccer as we normally did, like on a P day, and football. I was much faster than like most people.
Yeah.
And so I would just kick the ball and run past him. As I was running past the kid got upset and took me out.
Took you out.
Totally blew my knee, and so it sucks. So I didn't get to come back and play. The knee was just trashed. I came back. I tried to rehab and do it with some stuff, but I just wasn't there. Like, no, I just didn't have it. Like, it's hard to play college ball when you're 5'9", 185, and you run like a 4.6. It's just not enough.
Well, and you probably matured quite a bit, like on your mission and stuff, where you know you had probably a different mindset when you got back.
No, I wanted to play desperately bad. Like,
some athletes kind of lose, and it wasn't you. It sounds like, but the fire sometimes. You know what I mean?
No, I wanted to play super bad. Like, I really, I missed out on that, but. It is what it is. Things happen, and it just wasn't there.
You got 3 kids, right?
3 kids.
And your oldest boy...
He plays. He's 12, just turned 13.
He's 12. And what positions he play?
He's like D-end, tight end. He's bigger than me. I don't know where it's coming from. Yeah. He's already
how tall is Danielle?
5'4".
Okay, and you're what, 5'9"? 9.
He's already 5'7", like 140.
Wow.
Pretty big kid.
Jeez.
At 12, I mean, he's just,
So that's got to be fun, like teaching them how to play and all these lessons and paying it forward as a coach. And you've helped probably a lot of other kids coach, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Over the years.
100%.
That's awesome, dude. Coaching's no joke.
It's no joke.
And there's a lot of politics in it, too. I used to be a high school coach, and I coached all the way up. And you know what? There's almost this pressure if you're a coach and your kids are playing, it's like the magnifying glass is on you because it doesn't matter how good he is. He's got to be the best player from our perspective. So there's no doubt, right? And so it's just a lot of pressure for the kids.
Agreed.
And sometimes it can be a challenge.
Kids are good, though.
Well, they are. Baseball. You know, my oldest son, it didn't impact him, but my second one, it did. You know, and the head coach promoted him a little quicker than maybe some feel like they should have, and he didn't respond as well to me and that kind of pressure. And so it was nice to take a retire from high school baseball after 4 years and just watch my two boys and nephew play for a year, and that was an amazing time. So and then we got to see him in college, and even though the two of my nephew and younger son didn't play as much, it's just was cool to have them on the same team and go to one game versus however many. So sports have been a big part of my life.
Your family's life, it sounds like.
My family's life, and it's just kind of can be a generational thing once you realize all the different benefits of it. So, but it's a lot of work, and the landscape changes. You know, it's a little bit, different sports, lacrosse, all these other things come out. So, but let's talk more about like who you are, Josh. Like if you were to try and explain who Josh Lindsey is, okay, in a nutshell, how would you do that? That's a tough question. Or maybe it's an easy question.
No, I would say first and foremost, I'm a family man. That's what comes first. My wife and my kids come first.
Yeah.
I've positioned my life to where, I've told this story before, but in the area that I live, I've been fortunate enough to grow up around a lot of successful people. So like my friends' parents were running multi-million-dollar businesses. Right. And so later in life, as I started to ask them for advice, I would always ask them like, hey, can you give me some advice on what it'd take to be successful? And these guys would be like, look, man, they would always just be like, spend as much time as you can with your kids. They're like, if I could go back, I would trade, all my wealth, all my money. They're like, it goes by so fast. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. They're like, there's always going to be another deal. There's always going to be another dollar to be made. But that like 10, 13-year window of their sports and their school and all this stuff, it just flies by. And so I really took that to heart. And what I mean by that is it's my responsibility to listen. Like here I am asking these very, very successful men, like what would you give as advice? And that's what they told me. Am I going to listen? So I've made the choice consciously to listen, and I could work like 10 times as much as I do now and make 10 times as much money.
Right.
But I really focus on having a lot of free time so that I can coach my kids' teams. I can be at all their events, that I'm always around being there, because that's what they told me they would trade all their money for. So I'm kind of in the middle of it. I don't necessarily know if that's, true, but I'll let you know in like 10 years. But
we have another thing in common that might be fun to touch on. Like, you've had a lot of success, helped a lot of people sell their businesses that we'll talk more about next. But you also, have this passion for vacation rentals and the lifestyle that creates, and the investment side that you've been able to figure out. You got a beautiful home down in Hurricane, St. George area, and you just built a beautiful home up in Bear Lake. Yeah. And you're self-managing. You and your wife are kind of like this power mogul couple that, somehow finds all this time for your kids and everything else. I think. But from what I can tell, we have a lot in common in this regard. Like, I have multiple vacation homes and places that I like to go and my kids like to go. Yeah. And they're great homes whenever we want to stay there. Yep. And when they're not being used, we've got a system in place 100%. To help other families have the same lifestyle, to connect and to travel affordably together.
So my category on that is I call them lifestyle assets, because it's improving my lifestyle.
Right. Quality of life.
But it's an asset. Like, it's making me money. Yeah. It gives me a nice ROI, the appreciation on them. Yeah. I probably got started a little late in the game. I'm a little disappointed that it took me so long to get here. But we can talk about it since you're an expert. And what I mean by that is, originally when I was looking at these assets, I was so hyper-focused on the ROI. Like, someone would say, well, your cash on cash return is going to be like 5%. And I would be like, what?
Yeah.
I can go like buy a company, sell a company, make like 30% a year.
Yeah.
So it's so hard for me to be like, why would I want to make 5%? What I didn't realize until I bought my first one was, okay, if I bank on the 5% ROI, what I'm missing is you're also probably going to gain conservatively maybe 5% appreciation every year. That's fairly conservative. I mean, these last years we've had like 30%.
Yeah,
but even if you just bank on 5, now I'm at 10. But where I really missed out was the tax savings, because I'm getting somewhere between like another 8 and 15% on the depreciation. So all of a sudden, that lifestyle asset that I was looking at going, oh, it's only a 5% return. Really what they are is they're like 20% returns on investment. Guaranteed. Right. Because the last 3 years, they've been way
Well, and there's one other caveat that adds to that,
What's
right?
that?
It's that your renters, at least my renters, when I go stay in my homes whenever I want, and no matter, like, as long as I'm not 2-3 weeks out of a month, they usually always pay for my 15-year mortgages, okay? And the principal reduction paid through the sharing of my house is an additional return in some aspects.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, but it's still the same cash on cash return.
It is,
isn't it? Right?
but it feels
Whether
good.
You have a more,
it feels real good to see that mortgage balance just go down
for sure.
You know what I mean?
But a cash on cash return would be whether you have a mortgage or whether you pay
or
cash,
whether you don't.
Right. It's the same. But anyways, I just didn't realize that they were more like 20%.
Yeah.
20% is the return, because I wasn't factoring in the other two pieces.
And the last 3, 4, 5 years, it's been more like 40% because of insanity appreciation.
So St. George last year, just the cash on cash return was like 23. That didn't include the appreciation, which that house is like doubled in value.
Yeah, and you've owned it for how many years?
I bought it in 19.
For how much?
Oh, it was like $550.
Furnished and everything, 600 or 550,
ready to go.
And you can sell that right now. It's licensed. You got one of the few licenses too. $1.2 million, so it's double. So what's the cash on cash return on that? Are you that sharp? You can just calculate that.
$143,000 a year.
Woo! And so what's the percentage?
I don't know. What was that? Like 24%?
It's insane. Now, not every investment's going to be like that,
Absolutely
right?
Absolutely not.
And there's a few anomalies there.
There's an anomaly there, yes, because we self-manage it, and we have some like built-in systems.
But Bear Lake, did you have some of the same?
We did the same thing there. That was way more expensive, but we like Bear Lake.
Yeah.
Back to the point of your point, which is, I like to buy things that I'll stay in too.
Right.
It's supposed to be a lifestyle asset, something I'm like, oh, I love going here, and then the rest of the time,
right,
people are going to pay for it. But that was different. It was a more expensive property. It was $1.8 million all in. It'll probably do $150,000 to $200,000 on the rents. That's like $1,500 a night.
Yeah,
you bank on the summer.
Yeah,
that's the hot season.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. We literally we listed it in April, maxed out summer, completely booked, and we got started late. So I think because we got started late, we only did like $100,000 for the first 3 months, because
which is still pretty
discounted
amazing.
Rates.
And you helped some friends out and get up there.
Yeah, we let 3 guys stay up there for some, and they're all like, "Hey, we want to stay there next year."
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Unless you want to come when we're coming. Yeah,
yeah. So. And then we'll just pick up some shoulder income. It's got a snowmobiling season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then, I think that one will end up probably being, let's call it 8 to 10% on the cash on cash. But have you been up there lately?
Mm-mm.
The building going on there is insane. So I think the appreciation in that market is probably stronger than 5%. And then because it's such a big purchase, the depreciation on that thing is massive. On a $1.8 million property versus a $500,000
So the depreciation, to nail into that a little bit more, because a lot of people aren't as familiar. You're talking about the 27.5 years depreciation based on the non-land?
Depends on what you want to do with it. So for me, I had a big year last year with just my businesses.
Yeah.
And so I needed to take some hyper depreciation in order to offset some serious taxation, which is another thing that's been really nice about these properties.
Yeah.
So with that one, I took...
And there's some options to do that.
Yeah, I took an accelerated depreciation on that one, but I actually got a refund last year for the first time in like a decade.
Oh, that feels nice.
It's never happened.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's been over 10 years since I've actually got a refund.
Well, and being in the mortgage business, that's how I got in. The real estate ultimately is out of college. I got my loan officer. You didn't even have to have a license back then. Learned the mortgage side of things. And what a difference it is when you understand how money works and how interest rates are and how things, the longer you take to pay something, the more money it costs, and, all this stuff. But depreciation and who your accountants are, your financial advisors, we've learned about this so many different ways. It's important.
Well, let me tell you a few things on that. So I think one of the common misconceptions is that you should hire a team of people that you should just trust. And what I've learned over the years is you need to be the expert and understand that you're the client.
Right.
They work for you. Too many times you just like take stuff to your CPA or you take stuff to your financial advisor and people are so trusting. They're like, yeah.
You're the professional. Do whatever you say. Yeah.
It's like, no. This is your wealth. This is your portfolio. You should be up to date on the knowledge so that you go to them and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. And guess what? It's your job to help me do that.
Yeah.
So I pay you.
Yeah.
Too many people rely on like whatever you feel is best, then we'll just do.
Right.
No, if you want to be real good in the space of building wealth, gain the knowledge, and then hire the experts that can help execute that for you.
And then see if your vision is a realistic vision that they can help with.
If you do the right research, I mean,
it's black and white.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a CPA that knows how to do it, then find a CPA that can help you do it.
Right.
That's the point. Don't just rely on them saying, hey, I can't do this for you.
Yeah.
If you know that it's possible, then go find a guy that can make it happen for you.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, I had a really good friend that used to be my accountant. He was a great CPA, an ex-athlete, amazing. And he's the best guy ever, and he's still a great accountant. But for my business, he wasn't as versed, and he didn't understand a lot of different variables, and that he didn't have the time that we needed to really dedicate to getting in the weeds, to navigating some of these things. And so we made a switch, and it was scary, big time. But it paid off.
Okay.
Big time.
Okay.
And it's been the gift that just keeps on giving because they know our business. They know they've helped us save so much money on consumables that we were paying all the taxes on that we no longer pay, and all these different things, that never even came up. So,
but again, you learned that you're the client.
No question. And
it's your business, and you got to know it. You got to protect it, and you got to find people that are going to help you execute your plan. And in your business, I'm sure that was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
You're doing a lot of volume.
With you, for sure. So let's see. You get back from your mission.
Yeah.
And then what? Like, tell us.
I was out on the town
happened.
meeting chicks, Brad.
You were,
just putting in work to find this.
Now, Danielle went to like Alta, right?
She went to Alta. Yeah. Some of the guys know her in the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how'd you guys meet?
I hit on her.
Well, of course.
Hard.
Did you?
Real hard.
Aggressive.
Like, baby girl.
Well, and then how long before you got married?
Oh, it was a year and a half.
That's, pretty long time for, most.
We took a lot of flack for it, but let's see. We dated for like 3 or 4 months, proposed, but we wanted to have a summer wedding.
Nice.
So it was like, that's why we didn't get married.
Was it like a
2 months
glamour
later.
Gucci wedding or something?
No, we did it. No, both of our families don't have tons of money. So it was, we actually paid for a lot of the wedding ourselves. Wow. Yeah. So it was at Thanksgiving Point.
Nice.
You been there?
Yeah, I think it's one of the nicest venues in town.
Yeah, they give you that whole thing.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, but it was
awesome. Where I took my wedding photos.
Yeah,
Not my wedding.
It was an awesome venue.
Photos.
Like I remember thinking what we were paying. I think it was like $3,500 to rent at the time, and I was like, this place is gorgeous, considering like how magnificent.
They were just getting started, weren't they? With
I think
the whole
so.
thing.
That would have been 2006, so it's a while ago. It's probably not $3,500 anymore, isn't it?
I mean, no, it's probably a lot more. Wedding is a big business in Utah. Man.
Yeah, so we got married, and
So then what?
Started making out.
Yeah.
Clothes off.
It was totally fine. Everybody was good.
Green light.
Yeah.
Once
kids
you get
started
married
coming.
in the temple, they're like, boom.
Boom. Let's go.
Let's go.
Plant your seed. Procreate. There you go.
All right. What else? What else do you want to know?
I want to know about your business.
What do you want to know about
the business? I
want
to know, like, your very first deal that you to help somebody. This is important because, to get involved in a business, okay, you got to have some successes. You went and worked for somebody, right? Like a mentor.
What do you mean?
I don't know. What was your first job?
I worked at Trend West Marketing, setting appointments for timeshare sales.
And that's when you got back from the major. Okay. And how long did you work there?
I don't know, like 3 months. I was super good at it, though. Okay. So good at it.
So then what?
The manager didn't want me to work there anymore.
Well, right. But then where'd you take your talents? And why?
Man, these are such broad questions, though. We're going to get off on weird tangents.
Well, weird tangents is your life, man. I mean, you can summarize it real quick if you want.
Well, it just depends on what you want to know. I told you we could talk about whatever you want.
So who was your next employer?
So I met this girl, the girl that I did not marry.
Yeah.
You want this story?
Well, I mean, if you want to tell it, I'm here for you, bro.
You're here for me?
I felt like the people needed to hear your story. Dude, you're a pretty special dude.
No. Well, we could be here for hours. You don't want to be here for hours.
I mean, I won't allow you to be here for hours. We're already sweating. I mean, you got to be sweating.
I worked at a medical device company. I was dating a girl, and her dad hired me.
Okay. And how long were you there?
It's a good story. I don't know. We dated for like a year and a half. I was supposed to marry her, and that's a whole story.
Well, I'll hear that later. That sounds like a great one.
It's a great one. It's a great one.
So then what?
Then I worked at the gym.
Okay.
24-hour fitness.
Were you a trainer or something?
No, I sold fitness memberships. I was like number one.
You were like the golden tongue.
Very good. I was the number one sales rep in the Western United States.
For this
24-hour fitness.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
Oh man, like over a year.
So this would have been you started when you were what age? 24?
Man, I don't know.
I'm trying to do some math here.
22-ish.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And then this district manager came in one day. I had a special deal with my manager.
I'm sure you did.
And she was like, you don't have to work Sundays. Like, it was like, you're a rock star. Don't worry about working Sundays. So I got a new guy. And he was like, hey, man, you got to start working Sundays. And I was like, no, that's not the deal. Like, first of all, I'm
what are you,
like
icing, like a dealer in a casino, icing me here.
And I was like, no. And he was like, look, if you don't work Sundays, then we're going to have to let you go. That's what he said.
Oh, the top salesman in the region.
That's what he said.
That's smart.
And I was like, I remember being so pissed. I was like, fine, dude, if that's the deal, I'll just go do real estate. And he's like, what are you going to do? Like dig dishes and stuff? And I was like, I was pissed.
Dig dishes?
And I was like, I don't know. But I can tell you right now, I'm not ever going to work here again. Like, that's for sure. So I just left.
Right during that same conversation, you just quit right then and there. I
was like, who flexes on the number one? Like, what?
What is up with this
There's
guy?
no point in me working Sundays in Utah.
I bet he didn't last very long.
He didn't. I think he was there like 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So but that's really what kicked off my career, because I went and worked at this financial services company.
He freed you. You freed yourself, but he gave you the opportunity to really decide, I went
and worked at this financial services company, and it was a hard job, but there were people making good money there. And I was like, man, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
But it was a hard sales job. It was definitely, telemarketing, phone sales. And so it took me like a month to get it. But once I started selling, I was making like $2,000 a week.
You've always been a sales guy. You could sell anything just by relationships.
Big emphasis. I think it's a huge asset in any business that you want to, get into.
People connector.
Well, as a people connector, it's just like you have to learn how to sell. Like if you can sell a fitness membership, then you can sell a financial product.
Right.
That's really the state of you. If you look at how my career's progressed, I went from fitness to financial products to then selling like educational services. I sold ATMs and prepaid debit cards. It just like evolved, and now I sell businesses. But
that's what I want to get to there, because a lot happened to create this specimen over here before me,
Yeah.
Like, I think the common trend is you were gaining confidence at each job, learning that you have kind of a few special skills, and you knew that, and you kept looking for opportunities to help you refine that.
So I think a couple of things. If you want to, be successful in business, here's just like a few tidbits. So one of the unique skills that I gained working at a couple different companies was I had to sell over the phone. So what that did for me is it disarmed me, because when I was 24, you're young, enthusiastic, I'm a good looking guy. I could rely a lot on in-person charm. Like, I'm not going to lie, especially when I sold at the gym.
Right.
Super easy to close.
Freaking guns came out.
Yeah, dude, it was super easy to close, like the soccer mom looking for a gym membership.
Right.
It was very easy.
Okay.
But if you remove that, now all of a sudden all you have is your voice, and what you get good at is listening.
You got a good voice.
I'm not saying I have a good voice. What I'm saying is that's the only tool you have. You remove your intangibles, and all you have is your voice. So what you learn there is you have to become a great listener. And you have to listen to what people are saying and how they're saying
tones,
it in order to perceive how they're feeling and how to guide a sale.
Right.
So I got this master's degree for like, I think I've sold on the phone maybe a combination of like 2 to 3 years, but high ticket sales. We're talking $10,000, $20,000 over the phone, no in-person meeting. And I look at that. So now fast forward when I'm selling businesses, like I'll tell people, I'll be like, yeah, I sell companies and like I don't even meet the people and they'll send me like $100,000 and like put it into escrow. And they're like, how do you convince people to give you $100,000 and they've never met you? And I'm like, I don't know, that's a good question.
That could be a dangerous weapon if in the wrong hands.
Yeah, but I'm not interested in going to jail. So, but the point is I look back and I'm like, well, I guess I got this really good foundational piece 10, 15 years ago on how to sell over the phone. Right. And so now even though I'm talking to somebody in Texas and I'm like, hey, look, we need a deposit for $100,000 and they wire it to me. When I tell somebody that, they're like, what? Like you've never met him and they just wire you $100,000? I'm like, yeah, it happens all the time. And they're like, that's not normal. Right. That's not normal. And I'm like, what's normal to me? It's like way normal to me. So there's definitely a progression, but I think if you can learn how to sell,
and that's just a lot of repetition and training and scripts.
It's a really high skill set because too many times we rely on our physical presence and charisma.
Yeah. As a business owner, how do we find more guys like that?
What do you mean?
That are amazing on the phone? Because
I don't know.
My employees, my guest services and sales, like they are doing sales. They're vacation planning, hundreds of houses that we manage. We get a lot of phone calls and people haven't been there or they don't know all the details. It's a really big skill set to put them at ease, educate them.
Do you guys use scripts?
We need to put some scripts in place.
Oh, there you go. A little exposure right there. Because I'm a huge believer in scripts, and here's why.
Repetition and controlling the narrative.
When we built out, a couple of our companies, it was easy for me and it was easy for like a couple of our top sales guys just to crush. But your average person is like, how do you do this? They're not as sharp like off the top. So we would have to build these scripts and we'd be like, listen.
You'd build them out for them.
Yeah, you follow the script and this will guide you to where you need to be and don't deviate from it.
Yeah.
And so that definitely is a big thing that I believe in is scripting. Huge. Yeah, just teaching people to memorize a script is going to increase their closing percentage.
A lot of businesses have phones, and usually those are the best leads, right? The highest conversion if you pick up.
An inbound.
Inbound calls. And we're not even talking about outbound, which we don't make a whole lot of.
Sure. But you get a lot of inbound.
A lot of inbound. And you drive the conversion up 10%, 20%, and it's huge.
Create some scripts.
We're going to get some scripts going, man.
Scripts, dude.
Jeez.
Do you know how to close them?
I've never had scripts. I just wing it, man. Swing it with Winget.
You got to build some scripts, bro.
Okay. Well,
take your top sales guys, get them to write down their process in a script, refine it, work with it, and
beautiful.
Get a uniform system.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Sorry.
So at what age were you at this point? I mean, you've gone all the way up past the gym. You were there a year and a half.
22 to 24, 25, and then the guy came to me and was like, hey, I'm going to go start this company. Do you want to come with me?
You met him at the gym?
No. He was an executive at this financial services company. So I had worked my way up from being just like an entry-level guy all the way up to like working next to the executives.
In how long?
Oh, I don't know, like a year. Yeah.
Through all the things we've been talking about.
I just got good at and then they just recognized some skills. They had me speaking on their seminar circuit where I would go out and speak live to people, and I was really good at that.
You had a lot of, tangibles and a lot of skill sets at that point.
So when he was leaving, he was like, hey, I want to take this guy with me. And so he made me an offer like, hey, I'll make you a partner in this company. We're going to go start it. What I look back on is what I realized is he saw tons of talent, raw talent, but also like a super high work ethic. Yeah. He was like our age. He didn't want to go out on the road and pound the pavement. He had family and commitments. Right. So he was like, I'm going to take this guy. I want to guide
Mold him.
Yeah. I know he's going to go out and do it.
He's motivated.
Yeah. So I did. And so it was a prepaid debit and financial services company where we did ATMs. Yeah. And I was the road warrior. I was flying all over the place, placing ATMs in buildings, 7-Elevens, prepaid debit cards, all this stuff. At one point, we had like 30,000 ATMs in the Western United States, and we took that company public.
And so that, when you started, how many ATMs did he have?
Oh, what did they have? Like a couple thousand?
And you were one of the big reasons you propelled.
I was the only sales guy they had.
Okay, so you took him from a couple to 30,000.
Yeah.
In how long?
Oh, that was probably over a couple year period of time.
And what kind of money were you making back then?
Lots of money.
Yeah. Some good money. So you
hundreds of thousands, like close to $500,000 a year. Like,
what did you do all of a sudden going from making how much at the other job? $100,000 a year, maybe 50 to 100.
No, I was making probably like 120, 140.
Okay, and then all of a sudden you take this leap of faith, and you're like, "Let's do this."
Yeah.
And Danielle gets on board, and all of a sudden you're traveling for how many years did you do this?
That was like a couple years.
Just a couple?
Yeah. Well, because we took it public, and then it changed once we took it public.
So you took them from 2,000 to 30,000 in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, you must have some mad skills, man. I think maybe I've already figured that out.
Well, it's not just skills, but it's like
you had a good product too, and a need.
If you close a corporate account, you're going to pick up thousands of placement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you go out and lock down like a 7-Eleven franchise, you're going to pick up potentially like 1,500.
Well, let's not downplay just how incredible that is. 2 years, 30,000, then you take it public. So you got
it was a reverse. I didn't have a choice. Like I told you, I had two partners, so they did a reverse merger and it took it public.
What's a reverse merger?
So a bigger company will absorb the smaller company. So the bigger company was already public. They're going to reverse merger.
Yeah.
They just take you over, absorb all your assets.
Don't have to start the whole
You don't have to do
thing.
the full IPO process.
Yeah.
It's like an acquisition, but it's a stock acquisition.
And so the full process, if somebody has a business and they want to take it public, takes on average of what? If you know what you're doing, have the right people, a year?
Oh, it can be that's a big process to do like a full IPO. Yeah, that's
a year or two.
That could be a big. Yeah, it could be
and a reverse merger is
just much quicker,
like
less than
3
6
months,
yeah.
6 months. Wow. Okay.
It's a little bit of due diligence, checking some stuff out. They're already public. They can,
But you were a partner, so but you weren't probably the controlling interest.
Nope.
So you kind of had to just go along with it. And were you happy with how everything worked out?
No,
because you wanted to keep growing it.
Well, what happened is as soon as we went public, it became much more restrictive. And then two, what I learned at a young age is like, so anytime, in acquisitions, when a bigger company buys a smaller company, part of the way they increase value is they trim fat because the bigger company already has people in place.
Yeah, the executives and stuff.
So like the young 25-year-old sales
First to
rep,
go.
it's just like, hey, well,
even a guy like you,
he makes a ton of money, and we're paying him a crap load of money to go do all this, but it's like,
you think they would have cut you right then?
Oh, they did. That's what happened. Okay. Yeah.
They just what were the emotions in that at that point?
Well, the problem is when you're young, man, you don't even see it coming. Like,
well, and we all have confidence and ego. Like be in the zone.
You just don't see it coming because you're a rock star, so to speak, and you're
laser focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're hunting.
So like when it happens, I just remember showing up and they were like, "Hey,
where was it?
We're gonna let you go."
What state were you in?
Here. Yeah.
They just said
it sucked because I had just bought a brand new M5. I had an SL500. My wife had a Range Rover. I had like all this like sweet stuff.
What about the house?
I was balling. We had a house.
Where were you living?
3,000 holidays.
Oh yeah.
Had like a sweet house, 3,200 square feet.
And you're making what, 300 to $500,000?
Close to $500,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was salary, wages, or commission?
It was commission plus,
But you were paying all the taxes on that, like all the rest of us do.
Yeah, so take home's probably like in the high twos.
Yeah.
Because you're getting clipped pretty
hard. You
hard.
got great credit by this point. You're just learning, like, hey, you know what? Wow,
I can buy
my
everything.
payments, no problem.
I can buy everything. I was buying everything.
So then what happened? This is the need of who you've become,
it was just
bro.
like, hey, I showed up one day and they were like, hey, I'll never forget it. Because they were like, I walk in and the guy was just like, hey, we're going to let you go.
This is the new guy, not your old partner.
It was my old partner.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was just stunning. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, I'm going to stay. And this guy's going to stay, but like, we're going to have to let you go. And I was like, and I remember saying, but I don't understand. Like, I'm a partner in this deal. And he was just like, yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do because I was too young.
Right.
So I just went home. And the worst part about it is we were like having some party for a bunch of primary kids.
This is kind of vulnerable stuff. Appreciate you sharing. This is your story, though. This is big time,
good, dude.
Yeah.
It's all good. So I came home and there was like a bunch of kids jumping all over my furniture, and I was like, "This sucks. I don't want to be at this stupid primary party." And my wife's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I just got fired." And my wife's like, "I don't understand. Like, you're an owner in the business." I'm like, "I don't understand either." But I'm just telling you. That's what they told me. It was like, "You're out.
You're out." Yeah, so is our freaking guaranteed pay.
Yeah. So it was just like, oh man, I didn't know what to do,
but you weren't going to have to travel anymore.
My stock was restricted for 2 years.
Okay.
So like I hadn't even gotten my big payday with the stock stuff. Like
the carrot.
That whole reverse merger was a stock play. So like I was worth X on paper, but like none of that had been cashed in.
So you had a lot of stock.
Yeah. As part of the deal. But I was just like, I was out of a job, out of an income, and I didn't even know what to do. It sucked.
Okay, so, it's easy for people like us to go through that kind of a refining moment to think.
It's easy?
I mean, let me finish this sentence, right? To think, why is this happening to me, right?
Yeah.
But in retrospect, how long was it before you realized the light bulb went on that happened for you?
For me?
For you.
I still don't think it happened for me. I'm sorry, dude.
Really?
Yeah. Truly, that guy screwed me over hard.
He did.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been screwed over a lot too.
Yeah, but dude, I was young. So like,
do you take any responsibility though?
What did I gain out
screwed?
of it? I gained a ton of experience in business. Like to be 26 years old, have taken my first company public, to have made that type of money. I rubbed shoulders with some pretty decent players in the space. Like I learned a lot. I got a master's degree in business at a super young age, but on the job. So I was really prepared to go out and crush on my own. So yeah, I gained a lot from it, but still, theft is theft. Like I got fired from they took advantage of a young kid who didn't understand how to lawyer up and like go after him and all that stuff. And so I literally just kind of turned the other cheek and just
win. But the guy that you are now, what would you have done different had you known? Could you have prevented it? You could have had lawyered up and completely like you'd be sitting fat.
I spend over $100,000 a year on lawyers now. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be in the game, things are gonna pop off, and there's gonna be contracts that have to be negotiated. And if that guy would have done that to me now,
so you were in a good position per se. Like an attorney could have won or positioned you much better.
Yeah, I mean, I just would have flexed. Just whip out the loaf and
the old guns.
Let's roll.
Let's
man.
go. Let's shoot.
Yeah, we can talk about lawsuits.
Well, I have had plenty of experiences with lawsuits too. I mean,
it's just part of the game.
It's just part of the game.
Yeah, it's just part of the game. But no, I mean, look, I gained a lot. I gained a lot of experience. But
so you were 25
when that
happened?
25, 26.
All your friends and everybody were like, you're just slaying it, huh?
Yeah.
Because people are kind of competitive. Like no one really knows what the heck's going to happen and who's going to end up where. You were making it happen.
Yeah, dude, a great story about that. I was at the BYU Utah game like 2-3 years ago, and I see this girl from high school, just like out of nowhere. I hadn't seen her forever, and she was like, "Hey, how you doing? We're talking, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Good." And she's like, "Who would have thought?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Just who would have thought like you would have become so successful?" And I was like, "Me?" That's what I said. And she's like, "Well, you know what I mean.
Like when you think back, nobody else would have thought
about high school and like how wild you were and stuff." She's like, "I just never would have perceived you as like ending up here." And I was like, so I went back and I was with my buddies and I was like, "Hey, this just happened. Was that a compliment or was that a dig?" And they were all like, "That's a dig
for sure."
She was digging on you like that was not a compliment.
I mean, she acknowledged how successful you were, so it's a little bit of a both.
Was it? I don't think it was both. Every guy was like, "No, man, that was like holy crap."
I'm an optimist, so I like to see the positive and everything. But yeah, she was complimenting you. She said how successful you've become.
Not what other people said. They all said it was a dig.
I think it ultimately stemmed from the wrong place.
They said it was a dig.
And it kind of came out wrong, but the truth is, it's got to feel pretty good to just be you.
Bro, I could tell you a story that literally lit a fire under me so hot that is probably a good reason why I'm so successful now.
Because you're a pretty passionate guy.
I was super, super motivated to become super successful just based on how somebody treated me in a situation.
And that situation helped you. Looking back, it happened for you then.
It
still drives you.
Jazzes me up, dude.
But not only that, but you've kind of, so at what point did you start your business of helping other people sell their businesses?
Yeah. So I, after I got out of the public realm, I had some money and stuff like that. And I started acquiring businesses. So I've sold 6 companies personally.
Okay.
Where I bought them, we've ran them, we've sold them, etc.
That's one of the things I wanted to know. Like,
and so then what happened is I was getting friends and family and we're like, "Hey, how are you doing this? Like, where are you finding the deals? How are you getting the money?" And so the brokerage, the representation just kind of morphed and evolved out of that as people were coming to me and being like, "Hey, can you help me sell my family's restaurant or whatever?
How you doing it? Help me do it."
So I still do private equity where we invest in companies, whether it's a controlling interest or a small interest or even just the full thing. But then the brokerage, I primarily do that full time for 2 reasons. One, it keeps you real sharp in the space, and I see a ton of deals. Like
deal
people
flow
are bringing me deals all the time.
You stay sharp.
Most of the time, I'm not interested in buying them myself. So I just do full representation where we help people put that deal together.
Yeah.
But that started in 2010. So, I mean, we're like 12 years in on that. We've been on the Inc. 500 list 3 times, Utah 100 list 3 times.
Wow. I've never been on any of those lists.
I was 40 under
Freaking
40
guy.
in
You kidding me?
2015.
Maybe I needed to be fired like that. Jeez.
That's not what got me going. What the crap? Dude. Yeah, but I mean, it's been really, really successful.
So is there another defining moment that propelled you to this driven dude that...
So I have
the sky's the limit.
Let's see.
And I was curious, like your parents and how you were raised and what your mindset was.
They were entrepreneurs. They owned businesses. It was feast and famine, though. Like when things were good,
rags to riches, riches to rags.
No, just like my dad wasn't very good with money. So like when things were good, we had lots of money. He would buy a lot of stuff, but he was never really good at like managing it.
That was helpful growing up. I bet in some regards, watching some of that, because I saw some of that too, and it's like, I save a little more than I might have otherwise.
The greatest stresses in my family's upbringing was always around money. Like when my parents would fight, it was about money.
Yeah.
So I'm really anti-debt. Like, I have no debt.
Right.
And that's probably where that's rooted from.
Yeah.
Is I've always just wanted to create a like safe, stable home environment to where money's not.
And you're not making important decisions based on money or the lack of, and that's an important.
Yeah, exactly.
Important thing. Huh.
100%.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've even talked about, different businesses I've owned or I'm working on. And, there's some questions that I'm sure any business owner who's never sold a business would really like to know. Like, what are the questions that you get most that you might be able to summarize real quick? One in particular is, as a business owner, should you ever really start a business unless you consider the fact that you may want to figure out how to make a plan for an exit and run it that way, regardless if you ever exit or not?
So there's 2 rules of thought on that. Like some people say, you should have your exit plan in mind. And other people would say, like, you can't start a business without going all in. Like you shouldn't be thinking about the exit.
Right.
You
Burn
should
the boats.
just be thinking about making this thing successful. I subscribe more to the latter, which is like, look, if you're going to start a business, just focus on making that business successful. And then we'll talk about selling it later, but like you're not going to be able to sell your business if it's not successful
and profitable.
Don't worry about the exit.
Yeah.
Like I have it's a foreign world where these guys like start these tech companies and they're like not making any money and they're like, it's worth $20 million.
Yeah.
I can never get to the valuation. I'm like, how are you coming up with this? Like, I don't get it.
You're going to be the only comp that's going to set the precedence for everybody.
There are deals out there that happen like that. It's just not the space that I deal in. You know what I mean?
What's your wheelhouse? What space are you most comfortable
I've done a ton
with?
of stuff. I've worked in medical. I've worked in online. I do a lot of stuff in logistics. I got that sushi restaurant we'll probably sell. I mean, there's really no one thing. I can sell whatever you want me to sell.
Right.
And I think
the best salesman, honestly, sell a good product.
Yeah, and what it is okay, it's great to have a good product, but my process is what makes me unique. Like, it's no different than a lawyer or a doctor. Like if someone's going to operate on your back and you're really concerned about your back getting back to normal, you're probably going to track down the best back doctor you can find, right?
Right.
Well, look, I'm the best business broker in Utah. Like hands down, there's no one better than me in this space. There may be other firms, there may be guys, but I'm just telling you, nobody else has taken their own company public. Nobody else has done 6 of their own companies that have sold. Nobody's sold $300 million in businesses in the last 10 years except me. No one else has been on those lists. Inc. 500, Utah 100, the 40 under 40. There is not one other broker. There is not one other broker in the state that can match the resume. None. It is what it is. So, I can sell your business way better than someone else can. I'm confident in that. But my process and just the skill set that I've gained over the last 10 to 15 years, that's where it is.
And how's the network? Is that an important piece?
Network's strong. I mean, look, I've got a buyer list of over 5,000 pre-qualified buyers. That means they've signed a non-disclosure, signed an NDA, and they've shown proof of funds. These are guys that have a minimum of $500,000 liquid. Some of them have upwards of $50 million. So, it's a good network. 50% of the businesses will sell from that list, and the other 50% will just sell from putting it out there in the market. Yeah, exactly.
What space right now is under the most high demand?
So logistics was crazy hot last year.
Logistics.
Trucking.
Okay.
It's not as hot this year because of fuel. Yeah, fuel has pinched a lot of those companies. So until there's some changes there.
Why are logistics? Why was it so hot there?
Think about COVID. Okay. Everybody was ordering stuff online.
Everybody just needed stuff.
What became the backbone of America was delivery.
Yeah.
Everything in delivery.
So now what's hot?
I don't know.
Everyone's just trying to figure out what to do, huh?
And logistics is still good, but it's not as good as it was.
So like the multipliers, have they gone down a little bit? Like right now, it's kind of like real estate. You know, it's not that it's gone bad, but rates going up. Maybe
money's more expensive. Deals are taking longer.
The sellers that can't wait as long or whatever, they're discounting.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly, I can't point to an industry and say, hey, this is where you'd want to be, because everything right now is just a little different with money being more expensive.
Right. No, and I think I listened to your podcast with Jeremy Nevis, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think I might have heard you say something like, you know, or something I read on one of your multiple pieces, but the importance of trying to time it right.
Timing's important.
When you're going to sell. Like, how do you try and time the sell of a business when you don't even know maybe if you want to sell or when to sell or how to prepare for a sell?
It's a good
because that window, even like in my space, vacation rentals. I mean, I was getting hit up all the time, like once a month, a couple times a month. Last year when it was the best year ever.
Yeah.
I mean, things have slowed down. Everyone's traveling all over the world. Maybe there's a little bit less interest. Maybe the multipliers change. Maybe there's just less money, capital for that. How do you time it right?
Well, a couple of things. One, you want to sell a business when you're doing well. Okay. So you don't want to be, that's a common question. I get people that bring me their business and they're in like a downtrend of the last 2 to 3 years. They just don't understand that nobody wants to buy your failing business. They don't want to take over your problem.
Imagine that.
Or they're definitely not going to pay a premium for it. I might be able to find someone that'll buy it, but it's just going to be at like a fire sale price. So you want to be stable or trending upwards in revenues. But two, I think as a business owner, and I think this is a common mistake, is people don't forecast properly where their industry is. Yeah. So like, you know, if you're in logistics right now, I think trucking is still really strong. However, if you take a step back and you just look at trucking in general, I think one of the first places that's going to go and change dramatically will be in the semi-truck space, because I think we're really close to getting autonomous semi-trucks. So what's that going to do in that space? That's going to eliminate a giant driver pool.
Right.
They won't need drivers.
Right.
What does that do for the company? They're going to be able to run those trucks 24/7 and not have to pay drivers, because there's laws around drivers only being able to drive like 8 to 10 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? But having autonomous semi-trucks, it's coming. So if you're in semi-trucking, do you want to be in it 10 years from now? My answer would be no, because I think within 10 years, you're going to see autonomous trucks. So I would be trying to exit that space, if it were me, and get my cash into something else, because I'm looking at the landscape of what's changing. I haven't figured out how they're going to get around the local delivery aspect, you know, the Amazon driver that comes and brings you the stuff, because I still think there's going to have to be people bringing you things. I'm not sold on the drone technology of all this stuff flying around and just dropping things. Insurance just seems a little sketchy if something falls from the sky.
You buying Amazon stock right now?
No, but I haven't figured out the local delivery is what I'm saying. I still think there's going to be drivers there, but semi-trucks, I see that.
Right.
Like, if they can figure out a way to make those trucks stay in the lane and drive through the night,
that'd be huge.
What do they need drivers for? And you know how many semi-truck drivers are out there?
Yeah.
Tons.
It's kind of scary depending on what road.
So it's like, that's what I mean by timing.
What is
assess your industry.
You're a family guy, you're passionate, you're creating life experiences. There's different things that we find our time with. But, I think how do people get a hold of you? We'll wrap things up here. But how do they get a hold of you if they're interested? I mean, who do you want to call you and be like, who's your ideal candidate for a business owner?
Right now, I mean, if you're listening to this and you have a business and you're considering selling it, and I'm happy to do a free appraisal for you, because, Brad, because you listen to the podcast, normally I charge $3,000 for an appraisal, but if someone hits me up and says, hey, I heard you on this podcast, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
So even if you just want to see what your business is worth, hit me up. You can find me at AmericanBizBrokers.com, or you can call my office at 866-224-8386. Just make sure you mention this podcast, because if I don't hear that you know Brad or that you heard us here, you're just going to get my sales pitch for $3,000 on the appraisal.
Right.
So.
Well, and not only that, you're on Instagram, right? What's your handle?
I've got American Biz Brokers, and then I've got Joshua Lindsey 22 is my
and let's not forget about the podcast that you just launched. Thank goodness for those that want to learn more about this.
Solid podcast. The podcast primarily focuses on business owners and selling their business, meaning they talk about how they started it, how they sold their business. We break down the offers. We talk about the deals, like how it all worked out, et cetera. So it's a really good podcast. If you have a business and you want to learn more from people that have sold, that's primarily the content. It's called the American Business Broker Podcast.
And that's pretty awesome. Well, Josh, thanks for coming in. I love the swag.
Can I have the jacket?
Look, I'm taking timeshare options here at this point, like a houseboat.
Dakota, come on, man.
I mean, there's a funny story there. I mean, I'm in London. My trip got interrupted. I'm having a little retail therapy, and the country that wouldn't let us in due to my daughter's passport expiring, this amazing sales guy who's now a personal friend from France.
Sweet.
And he finds this 5X, 4X type stuff. I've never seen anything that fits me like that. So
like a glove.
I told him anything like this that fits me, I'm buying.
Yours. Okay. It's yours.
So
it's sick.
There we go, man. Well, thanks for coming on. This has been a great episode, and a great, getting to know you better. And I consider you a personal friend.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
I'm excited to, for what the future holds.
Me too.
So thanks, buddy. Over and out.
All right.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Utah's Best Vacation Rentals. Whether you're looking for a 3-bedroom townhome or a mansion with an indoor pool, Utah's Best has a vacation home for every budget and occasion. To book your next incredible Utah vacation, go to utahsbestvacationrentals.com. Book direct and save.